Hello, I'm Anna Arroyo, and I'm going to be giving the workshop How to Get the Twilio API up and running in just 30 minutes. Um, so if you want to kind of follow along with me and set up everything beforehand, go ahead and go to that tiny CC link, and you'll find like all of the tools I'm using and how exactly I got set up with Twilio and a free account and applying free credits and stuff. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, like I said, my name's Anna. I am a senior computer science student at the University of Texas in San Antonio. I've been involved with Rowdy Hacks for the past 3 years or so, so I'm excited to be back giving a workshop this time. So, our game plan for this workshop is to go over what the Twilio APIs are, what you can do with them, and how to incorporate them into your project, maybe. And then we'll do a demo of the messaging API and the voice API. And then I'll show you guys how I use the Twilio API to win some prizes at hackathons I've been to. So great. So what is the Twilio API? It's a little bit deceiving when I say it like that because Twilio actually has a whole bunch of different APIs and developer tools. The ones we're going to be looking at today are the messaging API and the voice API, kind of given away by the names. The messaging API can help you send SMS or text messages to phones, and the voice API can help you make or receive incoming phone calls. And you can take a look at all of their APIs and developer tools at that link up there. So what exactly can you do with the APIs? You can do a lot. I know a lot of companies use Twilio for marketing or for communicating with their customers. Specifically, I know that some places like food delivery services use it to communicate with the customers and the delivery drivers, and they don't have to actually share their private phone numbers, kind of like bullet point number 2 there with liftandmatch.com. I snagged these examples from Twilio, so this is just to give you a basic idea of how companies use them, but later on I can go over how a student would use them maybe at like a hackathon. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the messaging API demo. So I'm not going to go through any of the setup with you guys because that's going to take a bit more time, and I'd really just like to show you like how to just get going right as soon as you have everything set up. So make sure you check out this document. I show you how to make a free account if you're a student on the Twilio Console, which is where we're going to be kind of hooking up everything, how to apply a promo code so you can get some free credits, and then downloading VS Code, which is the IDE I use. Alrighty, so navigating to the Twilio console. This is where our application and our project kind of lives. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our Twilio phone number. This is the phone number we're going to use to send messages and also make and receive calls from when we look at the other API. So after you get everything set up with creating your account and applying your credits, your console is going to look somewhat like this. It may ask you to like make a project, in which this case I made one and I named it Rowdy Hacks 2021 Demo. And yeah, and then you'll see here you'll have a trial balance. Mine may be a little bit skewed because I've been using it for a bit, but it should come up with some sort of balance if you applied the promo code successfully. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So first thing we're going to do, get a trial phone number. It'll give you just an automatically generated one. If you want to look for one that you want specifically for your application, go for it, but we're just going to be using the automated one here. Awesome. Yeah, so it's really just that easy. So now we have our phone number, and we can use this phone number in our code, and we'll also be able to see it whenever we send and make calls later on. Great. And now it shows up right there so we can easily get to it at any point in time if we need to copy it or something. Okay, so I'm going to be following along with a Twilio tutorial um, to help you and me get started with this process. So the Twilio tutorial I'm using is this one. It's going to be send SMS and MMS messages in Python. Python's the language I'm going to be using today. If you're not really familiar with it, would be a great intro to it and to kind of get you started with learning how Python works and also how Python works with an API too, especially if you already know another language. The cool part about this is a lot of Twilio tutorial documentation allows you to switch between different languages. So they have most of their tutorials in the most common programming languages. So even though I'm going to be doing this in Python, you can go ahead and do this tutorial in Java if you want. Um, I'll give you all the necessary links to everything I use, so don't worry about that. Okay, great. So it wants us to sign up and log into our Twilio account. We already did that. Um, we already got our phone number, so check on that. And then send an SMS message in Python via REST API. Okay, great. So this is where we're going to start to begin using the API and really getting into the meat of it. I have actually already installed Twilio using pip install, but I'll go ahead and show it to you guys for the purpose of the demonstration, just in case you don't have it installed or need help with it. When I run it, it may already say that I have it downloaded or something. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, okay. So that's exactly how you would do it. On VS Code, you can open a terminal and simply type the command in there, or if you want to use your own terminal, you can do that too. But I ran it. It might look different for you if you've never installed it before, but for me, it basically says like I already have this installed, so I'm good to go. Great. So now the second thing we want to do is create a file named sendsms.py. Again, this might look a little different if you're using another language, but we're going to be using Python. So let's go ahead and create a sendsms.py file. If you've never used VS Code before, it's super simple. If you open it up, it'll look something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file and click on it and rename it. Oh, actually, I think I have to save it first. So let's do that first. Great. Okay, perfect. So now we have our send sms.py file. Now, now that we have our file, we can include the following code. So Twilio documentation is really great because it just provides you with all of the code that you're going to need. And then you just have to fill in a few things and it should really get you up and running for sending a text message or receiving a call or making a call. So it provides the code here. Again, it's in Python, but you can easily change it to another language if you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy everything. And I'm going to navigate back to our file. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste it in there. Wonderful. And I'm going to save it. So now we're so close to being done and being able to actually see it run. So one of the last things it wants us to do is replace our account SID and our authentication token in the code with our actual credentials in the Twilio console. So I'm going to navigate back to the Twilio console. As you can see, the account SID is right here. We can go ahead and copy that. And our authentication token is also right here, um, available for us to copy too. So going back to our code real quick, um, there is some sort of like security measures for using your environment variables like your account SID and your authentication token. So it's really, really good practice to do this in a secure way because you don't want to give anybody your authentication token. You could think of it kind of as like your password to your account, you don't really want to be just giving away your password and have it just blatantly there in the code. So if you go to this link here, the Twilio .io/secure, you'll find a really good blog about how to set up these variables so that whenever you, let's say you want to like post your code online or you want to like submit it on GitHub, or any other kind of version control, you don't really want to give away your password in that code, right? So this blog provides a really helpful way of handling that. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to come back just so that you don't see my password credentials, and we're keeping that all secure. Alrighty, so at this point, let's just do a quick recap. So we've pip installed Twilio, and we have all of the tools we need to be able to use the Twilio REST API. We've downloaded and copy and pasted the necessary code to send an SMS message. And now we've successfully been able to hook up our environment variables, meaning our Twilio account SID and our Twilio authentication token, using Twilio's recommended link here. So as you can see, I have a new file called twilio.env, which is where my Twilio account SID and my Twilio authentication token are stored. That's in a separate file. It's going to be kept secret, so no one can access it, but my file will be able to access it. But my actual environment is not going to be able to be pushed anywhere. It's not going to be visible for anyone to see, so nobody can see my password. Great, so after you're done setting that up, now we can go ahead and continue with the tutorial. Alrighty, so we're almost at the end here. The last thing we have to do is just replace the phone numbers in which we're going to be receiving the text from, and then the actual phone number that we're going to get the text from. So, as it explains in the tutorial, our from variable is going to be the Twilio number that we created in the console. And then our to number is going to be the phone number we actually want to send it to. And for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to use my own phone number here in this variable, just to make things easier. So let's go ahead and go back and get our Twilio phone number that we created, which is right here. So I'm going to copy it, go back to our code and replace it here. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my own phone number here. Great, and save it. Alrighty, so now I think we should be good to go. I think we're all set up and we should be able to just run this command and be able to receive a text from our Twilio number. So I'm going to copy this command, go back to our file, and then in the terminal section, I'm going to paste it in there. Oh, looks like I entered my phone number wrong. That's all good. Let me just change that real quick and resave. And we will just run it one more time. Nice. Okay. So it returns this cool ID to us. And that's kind of like an indication that it worked, because we print our message ID basically at the very end. So as you can see here, we got our message. So it says sent from your Twilio trial account. This is the ship that made the console run in 14 parsecs. Great. So if you notice, this is the exact text that we have in our body right here, which is great. That means we just got it to work. So that is how you would send an SMS message to the phone. There's so much more that you can do with this API in terms of like marketing or getting notifications for something, having it trigger something else. But I really just wanted to show you guys how fast that was and how simple it was just to be able to send a text and include something like this into your hackathon project. So we're going to go ahead and stop here, and we are going to start back with the next demo, which is the Twilio Voice API demo. Great. So it's a little bit easier now because we already have our Twilio phone number and we already have our console set up and everything. So we just have to do um, kind of like the second part that we just did for the SMS, which is just making the files, um, configuring the right variables, and then seeing it run again, which will be really great. So let's get started with the Twilio Voice API. All right, guys, so now this is going to be the tutorial we're going to be using for the Voice API. And it's just a quick start for Python. Again, you can use a quick start. As you can see on the left, they have like Java, C#, Node, and PHP and some other stuff too. Okay, so in this quick start, we'll learn how to sign up for Twilio and get our phone number, which thankfully we've already done, so that's great. Set up your development environment and make and receive phone calls. Again, we've already handled that in the SMS API, so we're good there too. So this is really just going to be focused on how we make, or the code to make an outbound call, which we'll get to play in MP3. And then potentially how to respond later on. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, we've already signed up for our phone, so I'm just going to skip through this part. You should already have Python installed and pip installed Twilio, so I'm going to skip through this part as well, but if you feel like you need to go back to this, I have the link for you at the very end of this, so no worries. Okay, great. So now we're at the kind of meat of it. So how to make an outgoing phone call with Python. I'm going to scroll down. All right, so sounds like the first thing we need to do is create a new file called makecall.py. So I'm going to go back to our VS Code. There's our old code from our SMS Pi. I'm going to do File, New File, and we're going to save it, and we're going to call it makecall.py. Perfect. Alrighty, and type or paste in the code sample. So on the right here is our code sample. So like I said, I'm just going to copy and paste it and save it. Great. Going back to the tutorial, the last thing we need to do is just replace the to and from phone numbers, exactly how we did it with the messaging API. So going back to our code, again, the from is where we want to, is the number we want to make, is going to be actually doing the call. So this is going to be our Twilio phone number that we have in our console. And then our to is going to be the phone number that we want to receive the call from. So I'm going to go back to our Twilio console, go ahead and grab our number real quick, and then post it in our from. Great, and then for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to use my own phone number for the to. Save it, go back to our tutorial, and that was it. So all we have to do is just run this script exactly how we did with the SMS messaging API, and I should be able to receive a phone call here. Great, and there's our ID. Great, and as you can see on the top right, you can see I'm receiving a phone call from our Twilio console phone number. Great. And that is it. So that is our programmable voice, programmable, God, that's a hard word to say, programmable voice API from Twilio. All right, so that was the Twilio Voice API, and that's exactly how you would make a phone number. If I had answered it, I think it would have just played like a song. like the tutorial stated, which you can check out if you decide to run this tutorial by yourself. It's actually pretty funny. Um, all right, so now that we've shown the messaging API, we've shown the voice API, and what Twilio code looks like for that, I'm going to go back to our slides, and we're going to do a little bit of a recap. So, right, so we went over the messaging API demo, we did the voice API demo, we're on a good track now. And now we're going to go over how I used the Twilio APIs in hackathons. So I have two hackathon projects where I used Twilio. One was called Hack Your Work, which I used the Twilio messaging API, like we just showed. And in this, Hack Your Work was based on an idea of sending students or people who are working in quarantine or just working from home, sending them text reminders every hour or every so minutes to get up, stretch, drink some water, take a break, eat a snack. Hack Your Work was focused on really improving productivity just by allowing yourself to have breaks while you're working throughout the day, especially since most of us are working from home and we're doing this hackathon from home. Um, that was the whole idea of our project there. And we utilize this idea by using the Twilio messaging API to basically do all the legwork. We had it send all of our text messages, and it was a really fun time. And then the second project I worked on, which used the Twilio Voice API, was Ringmune. I used the Voice API, my team and I did, to make a hotline that was to help people who maybe had hearing, or sorry, not hearing, but seeing impairments, or maybe who didn't have access to internet, try to help them schedule a COVID-19 vaccination appointment by giving them the available appointments within their region. So we kind of created this really great COVID-19 hotline with the Twilio Voice API. Both of these projects, I was able to like win a prize, and it felt really great being able to work on something and use this API to really show off our project and our idea, and it was really great. So I know we talked about how Twilio can be used at companies, but this is how I use Twilio just in terms of for a hackathon project ideas, and hopefully this will inspire you too, and maybe you can incorporate it in your project too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys for coming to this workshop. Again, I listed some additional resources and setup in the TinyCC Google Doc. So if you navigate there now, I went ahead and added the tutorial I used for this workshop so that you can go into it and you know which ones I used. And if you want to follow along, you can do that as well. And later on, I may post some additional resources to help you guys. But yeah, apologies if I seemed like I was going really fast. I really wanted to make this under 30 minutes just so you guys can see how quick and easy and fast it is to use this API, because I've struggled with APIs in the past and I know that they can seem really daunting and kind of scary because you don't really know how they work. But I really hope this shows like how really simple and easy it is to just get up and running with one and really incorporate it in your project and be able to say like, yes, I used an API. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your hackathon. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'm here for you. I'll try to help you as best I can. So thank you so much.